So this is a very unique episode that may or may not get released to the public.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so I hope I can convey what's good. Dude, I've had this thing on my mind for about 4 days,
Hmm.
and I just need to talk to somebody about it. And I
How
couldn't
come?
think of anybody better than you. You have great wisdom, and introspect, right?
In a very small window.
Well,
Yeah.
no, no, no. This is good. This is really good. So, so about 4 or 5 days ago, I found out that an old high school buddy, actually an old kindergarten buddy,
Oh, wow.
that I've known since we were probably five. And if I remember right, how we got connected was my mother knew his mother, and when she'd go to visit, we'd go play in his backyard. And dude, I mean, we went to each other's houses like all the time, uh, up until we graduated high school. And then I lost contact. I saw him one time after that at like a high school basketball game. He was just getting ready to go into the Marine Corps.
Oh,
And then that's the last we just he went his direction, I went mine, and just thought about him, from time to time over the years.
wow.
And like, oh, I wonder what and his name, is it okay if I mention his name? Maybe not. Maybe not. So so I found out about 4 days ago that he died, you know. First thing
Wow.
I thought of is, doggone it. We talk about don't buy green bananas. Man,
Yeah.
if you want to reach out to somebody, reach out to them. Right.
Yep.
So, uh, so somehow I can't remember how I found, but I found out that he died, and somebody said, "Hey, his information's on Facebook." Oh, hell, I didn't know it was on Facebook. It didn't. He's got a very common name, like almost like John Smith kind of thing. So there'd be 10,000 of them on Facebook. So anyway, so I went to the link that was emailed to me, and I saw him there, and dude, it just made my heart really, really heavy.
Hmm.
That when I knew him, and now this is years and years and years, decades and decades, a lifetime ago, right?
Yep.
He died of cancer. So a lifetime ago, very handsome man,
Yep.
incredibly likable,
Hmm.
great shape, athlete. Well, he's a Marine, right?
Yeah.
And but not your typical Marine mindset. It a little surprised me that he was going in the Marines, and no disrespect to the Marines. It's just a different, they tend to be as they need to be, gung ho and I'm going to kick your butt, which that's exactly what we want our Marines to be, right?
Right.
But he was a really smart, not that Marines aren't. See, I probably shouldn't have said that, but you get the idea. So he was a very intelligent, very likable guy, and it would not have. I would have been surprised to heard he was the new president of the United States, but I would not have been surprised if I found out he was the new senator, the new member of Congress. Would not have surprised me at all. Right? Just a really good guy and handsome. Just good guy. Good, decent family, good guy. Well, when I found him on Facebook, brother, it broke my heart, man.
Hmm.
And God, I wish I'd have found him earlier. But I found he was homeless. Looked like he had a really hard life, really hard life. Um, Looked unhealthy even before I scrolled back, a year or two or three or four, and even before he was diagnosed with cancer. Just it looked like he had a hard life and just not good. I think he ended up living in a shed behind one of his kids' houses. I think that's if I read the vibe right, that's kind of what I got out of it.
Wow.
And dude, it just broke my heart. It was just like, oh man, had I have known. And
Hmm.
and my first thought was, what a disaster to have had this wonderful person with a wasted life.
Hmm.
That was my first thought, right?
Yeah.
And and then I spent a fair amount of time. Did we hung out with the same people? We did the same thing. We back then when we were, I don't know, 16, 17, 18, we went to the same, I'm using air quotes here, parties.
Yeah.
and did the same party things,
Yeah.
and we were both came from uh, the working poor,
Yeah. Yeah.
good people, but working poor, right? We weren't, yeah. Um, what is it? So this is not, yeah. What is it that some of us took a drastic different direction
Hmm.
and others, like some of us turned to the right, and this is not a political thing at all, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
some of us went down the north fork of the road, and some of us went down the south fork of the road.
Yeah.
And dude, I think of like all the crap I got myself into early in my life.
Yeah.
But something wonderful came out of each one of those hardships.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I was talking with somebody the other day, hey, if you could change one thing, if you could change one thing in your life, what would that one thing be? Man, I'd be afraid to change anything,
Yeah.
because had I not had this one guy that was going to kick my butt, and he was a big dude that there was zero question who was going to win that fight. Uh, and because of that, I went in another direction. And if you fast forward a little bit, I met Maria
Yeah.
and had this dude. I'm not going to give his name. I'll give his first name. His name was Kevin. I had wronged him, and I did. I wronged him, and
Yeah.
he was gonna let me know what for, and
Hmm.
been very successful at doing that. But because of that, I met Maria, and then this happened, and then I got a little bit of trouble. But because of that, I met so and so who was also gotten that little bit of trouble when I was climbing out of the hole. And I
Yep.
climbed out with him, and then met this person, that person, and now I'm sitting here with the ever so wonderful Mr. Chris Johnstone today, while other people going through some of those same things, it got the best of them.
Hmm.
And I've just been trying to sit there and figure out, and like, I'd like to tell you that, well, it's because I did this and I did that. But while maybe true at some level, that a lot of it was just grace that
Yeah.
saved me from this stuff and that gave me the thought, well, I could do this, I could do this, which was something, as it turned out, was way better. But
Yep.
in the beginning, in the interim of that fork, it didn't look any better or any worse than the other fork. But come to find out, 3 miles down the road, there was a pot of gold. Had I chosen the other one,
Hmm.
3 miles down the road, there was a desert with no water.
Yeah.
So, what is it that somehow, I don't know, is it favor? Like we get like favor in life, but I didn't do anything to earn favor. And I think of my dear friend, God, he was the nicest guy, man. I can't
Mm.
imagine him doing anything to earn not favor. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, is it is life all just a flip of a coin? And sometimes we get heads, and sometimes some of us get heads, and some of us get tails, and like what is that?
Wow.
A lot of stuff, huh?
That's a lot of stuff, but
Yeah,
deep, important, important questions. I
yeah.
think that, and there might be a little bit of noise here in the background,
No,
but
it clears a bell.
so yeah, I have spent some time pondering this myself, Carl. We had the joy and the incredible opportunity to go to Africa this year uh,
Yeah.
with our kids, you know, and talk about a stark opening reality of knowing the opportunities that you're providing for your children and
Mm.
stand in an orphanage where, you know, $400 a month provides a meal that they don't eat on a day, and you think
Mhm.
about favor a lot. And I'll just share this personally from my side of things. We went to an orphanage with the kids and with Robin, and I'm so blessed in my marriage because I'm a better man because of it. I am definitely, I
Mhm,
have a better
mhm.
half. and I sat in that moment of grace and appreciation and love for the surroundings that we have. And I looked around and I realized, wait a minute, these kids are a lot happier than a lot of the kids I see at home.
Wait, say it again. Say that again.
The
These
kids,
kids.
like it's an orphanage. These
Yeah.
are children in absolute, what we would comparatively say, just the most horrible situation, like loss of parents, loss of homes, loss of, like really taken in by a grandmother or an abuela in a place because they really have nowhere else to go. And
Mm,
a skipping rope, a big meal, and their friends, and true, utter joy and happiness.
mm,
And I had, not that it's right, but I had this moment of just like, maybe it's not so bad on the other side of the coin. And as we look at it, and
mm.
I'm not saying that it's not bad, and I'm not saying that, help is not a good
I
thing,
get. Yeah. Yeah.
and
I get
all
it.
these things. But perhaps what we see as, true hardship, and we've got to go fix this and we've got to go help, like maybe they're happy.
Mm,
Maybe every person has the opportunity to make the choice in the situation that they're in to truly feel joy, because I do believe we all have grace. We are all, and it's
mm,
not earned, it's given. We're all here with favor. I see a lot of, we got to go fix this, we got to go help this, we got to go. And recently I got back from mainland China, which, if you look at surveillance states and social credit scores and things that are very real things, and then you
mm,
go talk to those people in those, what we would consider to be situations, it's like, oh, that's great. I love it. I'm happy. I'm good. I have this blessing. I have this blessing over here. And it made me realize that, and to put a nerdy spin on it, as I tend to do, like, we're all playing the level of the video game that we're loaded on. And some people just really enjoy playing that game more than others, and some people just don't play the same level of the same game.
mm,
But man, I love every single one of them the same. And
mhm.
I love my kids a little bit more than I love other people's kids, but I try and
I
love
get
it
it.
equally. You know
I
what
get
I
it.
mean?
I get it. That's very interesting. So that's why I wanted to talk to you about this, man, because so I was talking with a very dear friend of mine and Maria's. Her first name is Alice. So very dear friend. And actually, I've known her. We were since like 11th grade or 10th grade or something like that, and just a really wise person. Her and her husband, just very dear friends of ours. And she's a hairdresser, and the hairdressers are right up there with bartenders with wisdom, right? I mean, because all they do is talk, probably even more wise because their customers aren't drunk most of the time, right? So, see, but they talk to people all day long, the people that are attracted to that as a career field tend to be wise and people and things like that. And
Yeah.
she said her thing was and actually we didn't talk. We were Facebook messaging, and I said, man, this has really been on my mind, and she made the comment of just because somebody's life was difficult doesn't mean that they weren't happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, that stopped me in my tracks a little bit. And I tell you, my first thought was, how dare me judge somebody
Mm.
by what watch they have on their wrist? So, as I'm wearing my Apple Watch today, right? Right. So nothing fancy, but or judging them by how many square feet their living room is, or whatever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and because then I thought about that, and I thought, there might be something to that, because he never had to worry about having a flat tire, which I got to go. My car's needing tires, and I've been trying to carve out time here the last couple of days to go see about it. Well, he didn't have to do that. He didn't have a car,
Yep.
and he didn't have to go get a battery for his car because, again, didn't have a car.
Yep.
Doesn't have to worry about property taxes coming up and not forgetting to write that bill, but he doesn't have a piece of property.
Yeah.
And so who am I to say that as he's sitting there in his, my suspicion is somewhere around a 10 by 10 or 12 by 12 shed in somebody's backyard. Um, yeah, who's to say while I in that situation might not, be the thing that I'm looking for, we tend to be attracted to and end up exactly where or what we're attracted to, even if we don't inwardly know that's what we're being attracted to. And I don't know. So I thought about that. And then I thought, all right, well, so this thing of like those of us that rose up from the ashes, and I'd love
Hmm.
to tell you that I had this master plan and I was inspired when I was, 21 years old that I'm going to do something with my, I'm going to be somebody. I'm going to be a mayor of like it was none of that, right? It was just like one thing just happened after the other. And I think the one so I think a lot of it was grace, right?
Hmm.
Maybe all of it actually. But I think one of the outwardly identifiable pieces of grace is who we chose to hang out with,
Yeah.
and not necessarily by design. Because it's not like, well, I'm going to hang out with only the winners. Like I remember the day I met you, it was through somebody else was holding an event, like non-industry related, mine in your case, and met you at the event. That's where I remember us meeting. Is that where you remember too? Yeah, okay.
Yep. Yep.
And I remember thinking, wow, this is just a really cool guy. He's really smart, and we seem to have a lot in common. I think I'll hang out with him. Come to find out, you're a great guy. You're very inspirational. You make me think in a different way. You help me remove the clutter, what's really important, and all these great bits of wisdom. And because of that, my life has definitely improved, both in my day-to-day life, hanging out with somebody cool, and frankly, financially, because you iron sharpens iron kind of thing. And I think of who we've chosen to hang out with, and frankly, who we've chosen not to, um, really has and I know that's not breaking news here. Whoever your four closest friends are, you're likely to be the fifth one like that.
Yep.
And boy, is that true? So. Hey there. Hey, if you're loving the tips so far, be sure to hit that subscribe button right down there and then tap the little bell so that you never miss out on more free, cool tips coming your way. Also, I would love to hear from you. Drop a comment beneath there. Let me know what you think or tell me what you'd like to hear next. I don't
It
know.
really is. And I feel so oftentimes I will find myself inkling. And I know that sounds
Oh,
like a
wait, find yourself what?
inkling. I don't know what to call
What?
it.
So what is Inkling?
So inkling is like a feeling that comes to me that is thought, but also like I feel moved to go in a specific direction. An
Okay. All
idea,
right.
uh, and you see me, I'm a real creative guy.
Yep.
And so sometimes I will just have this push to go in a direction. And I've found that oftentimes that leads me to people and locations.
Mm,
As of late, I've had this, you know, when to put it in mortgage terms, when you're at the industry event and there's the top producing real estate agent that happens to be there, and you just have this inkling of just like you're standing up from the chair, you're walking across the room, you're like, I wouldn't normally do this, but I'm just going to go introduce myself to this top producer. And then all of a sudden, your daughter and her daughter are both on the same sports league, or there's this weird
mm,
thing that you never could have predicted that had happened, that's a connection there. And then it grows into this beautiful referral relationship. And there's, tens
mm,
of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars made on either side of the table because you just felt this inkling that gets you up from your chair and across
mm,
the room and to that time and space. But we wouldn't be sitting in the chair if we weren't listening to that still small voice that puts you
mm,
in the right situation. And I think for our listeners, when you get that opportunity to be outside of your comfort zone and stand up and shake hands with that person that you might be a little bit intimidated to reach out to, or pick up the phone and make that call to that top producer because the phone
Mhm.
is 10,000 pounds and you've got call reluctance, or you have that opportunity to go to that dinner party at that place where, well, I'm not
Mhm.
fancy and those people are fancy and I'm just not going to go because I ain't fancy. Well, put on a collared shirt and go show up and shake hands because you never know why you've got the inkling to be in the place. And I often find the most amount of discomfort comes right before you have to do the thing. Like
Mhm.
you're not going to get out of that chair. You're like, no, I'm not a social person because I'm a very introverted person. To go to an event to take our meeting, there's Carl White over there. Oh my goodness, that's Carl White. For Chris Johnstone to get out of his seat and go
Mhm.
over and walk up and shake hands with Carl White is a terrifying experience for the first time. But
Mhm.
look, the beautiful friendship that's come as a result of pushing through the discomfort. And I believe that everybody listening is going to have a situation like that that comes up in the next 14 to 30 days where you
Mhm.
feel that fear and good goodness, get out of your seat, go do it anyway.
Mhm.
Because you're right, it's the people. It's the people you
Yeah.
put yourself with.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I don't know. This has just been on my mind almost nonstop. Usually I'll think of something in the morning and then something else in the afternoon and, kind
Yeah.
of these pondering things that I'm pondering. And usually they stick with me. I mean, sometimes 2 minutes, right? But typically when I have a big topic, I'll ponder it for a morning and maybe for an afternoon. This one, it's very unusual that one of
Why?
these pondering
Why do you,
things goes on for like 4 or 5 days here. And
why do you think that is?
um well, I felt sad,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that like had I have known, I would
Mm-hmm.
have done something. But you know what? Maybe that wouldn't have been what was wanted,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe I would be, as I've been sitting here and pondering this, maybe I'd be going into, and I'm using air quotes here, save somebody that doesn't need saving, but I would have at least made the offer, right?
Right. Yep.
And so sadness in that way that I didn't get to, I waited 50 some years,
Yeah.
which, so I wish I hadn't have done that.
Mm.
Uh, and then looking at my own journey, just an immense amount of gratitude for the grace and all the times I've screwed something up. And the good Lord, in my belief system, the good Lord came and lifted me up and pulled me out of it, even if I was fighting a little bit along the way. Um, but then I've also been thinking about that thing that Alice said that I've got, I don't even know how many vehicles I got, probably what, 7 or 8, seven, something like that. I've got all these different sets of tires that I have to, and I'm using air quotes here, worry about, and 7 different or 8 different sets of batteries that I concern, and 8 different sets. Maria, worry the 8 different sets of insurance that we have for the different vehicles and whatnot. And I've been pondering that too. Like um, I don't know, just a lot of thought. And then the other thing that's going in my head is like, and this again, this goes back to what Alice was saying is some people that have a hard life are very happy, and maybe it comes, my first thought was maybe it's that, the caterpillar thing where they have to beat themselves out of that cocoon to become a butterfly. And if you try to cut them out of that cocoon, they die because the
Yep.
beating themselves out of that cocoon is what builds the muscles for their wings so that they can fly. And my first thought was, yeah, but he didn't get to fly. He was still in the cocoon. But then I started thinking in my belief system, oh no, Carl, he's flying,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that was the blink of an eye before eternity. And
Yeah.
so the blink of an eye was preparing him for eternity. and maybe Carl, instead of him learning lessons from you, maybe you got a few to learn from him. And so I
Mm,
don't know. It's just this really confusing mesh of thoughts going, and I'm just looking for a little bit of I don't know. I'm just looking to bounce some of this off of, and I couldn't think of anybody better than you.
mm.
So
Well, I'm honored,
yeah.
and I'm sorry for your loss.
Well,
And
you know, so um, and maybe he gave me a lesson. Maybe his, and not just me, right? But all these people that he knew, perhaps he gave in different lessons to each one. And I'm just trying to figure out what that lesson is today, and just just get a little clarification on it. And boy, just a lot of gratitude, man.
yeah,
Let me tell you something, buddy. Life could have ended up way different. Way different than it did today, than it is today.
yeah,
Dude, it could have been catastrophic. I remember my uncle telling me one time, very, very dear, very close to my uncle. And I remember he told me one time something like, he said, Carl, you have this amazing gift that you can be out in a cow field and a giant cow just take a poop all over you, and then this rose comes out of the middle of the cow poop, And obviously he worded it a little bit different, but I've thought about that over the years, and it's true, that just these what seem like difficult times, and just as we wrap this up, and this is a way oversimplification of it, but just tying it back into our career here, I think of the crash of '07 and '08.
yeah,
Very painful at the time, very, very, very painful. But it taught me to save.
yeah.
And so that definitely, when that happened, I went, all right, that won't happen again.
Hmm.
And so I learned to diversify my business, not just to do lending in one small area, but get a bigger cup. If
Yeah,
things are tough in Florida, maybe they're not as tough in Michigan,
yep.
and to be able to do lending in Michigan too. So I learned from that. I learned that that's about the time I got really, really, really serious about the 25% thing. And so now, if the business takes a tumble, it's inconvenient, but I don't like whatever. Like it's all so I learned a lot from that, and so learning to be open, learning to instead of playing the victim role, and what's the take home lesson here, and just that somehow the good Lord blessed me with that ability to think that way, because I don't think I chose to think that way. I think that was a gift that was given to me to be able to
Hmm.
think that way, and so I don't know, just a lot of confusing things. So, what do we publish this one, or is this one just a conversation between Chris and Carl? I think we publish it.
I think we publish it too. You never know the person that needs to hear something that was in there that can make a difference. And, the pondering, Carl, I think is a great honor to your friend and to everyone,
Mm,
because how many times do we just drive past and just like, oh, well, there's a blip. You could have very well heard that news and went, wow, okay, what's next? The
what's for
stopping, the
dinner? What's for
pondering,
dinner?
exactly,
Yeah. Hmm.
right? So honoring the memory and searching for the lesson, I think is
Hmm.
just such an incredible thing that you're doing. And I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
that's just beautiful in itself.
Yeah. And he left behind I just had a brief chat with her in Facebook, messenger to his daughter, and he's got grandkids, and I think he's got. You have to remember we do things a little different in the South. He's got great grandchildren even,
That's amazing.
because yeah, because if you're 20 and you have a kid, and then that kid has a kid when they're 20,
Yep.
and then that kid has a kid when they're 20, it's easy, it's easy for that to happen actually. So and here in the South, we historically didn't wait to our 40s to get our first marriage. It was common, right out of high school or even
Yeah.
right at graduation. So yeah. So anyway, good stuff, man.
Wow.
Hey,
Well,
what's
thank
what's on the radar?
So I am eyeballs deep in artificial intelligence right now.
Yeah.
I'm going through some of my own pondering,
Mm,
artificial general intelligence, and just seeing inklings of that starting to surface right now has really made me realize. in the lending industry, how much loan officers have as potential to be able to lean into these tools. And
Mm,
I mean, conversational AI and the refinance boom, if you take those two things, you put them together, we're able to operate at a scale that's never been possible in the mortgages.
mm,
There's never been a boom in mortgages and real estate that's lined up with artificial intelligence before.
mm,
And so the pie used to be not equally distributed, again, by location. Like you mentioned, the whole Florida thing, go get a bigger cup. With artificial intelligence, a local lender can play at a national scale and use conversational intelligence to where we were limited to one conversation at a time through all the previous ones. No, we're not. You know, one loan officer can have 1,000 refi conversations in a day. What does that look like? So that's where I've been spending some time pondering.
mm. I like that. So I did and maybe this will be another episode. We might cut this out. Which, by the way, as you're listening, I've mentioned editing out like probably 30 times so far this episode. I literally don't know if we've ever done that. Like literally,
Yeah.
ever in any episode that I've ever done. I don't think the only time sometimes somebody will drop a let's call it colorful language, and I try to keep these PG, but anyway, um, I did something the other day and maybe this will be a different episode. I did something on Chat GPT the other day. Is I asked it, how did I word this? I asked it, ask me 10 questions
Mm.
so I can know more about myself than I ever have. Ask me them one at a time and don't tell me why you're asking that question.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, that was some deep stuff. That was I told Maria about it, and I said, hey, and I'm gonna step out of the room so it's completely private,
Yeah.
and because I want you to speak just. And she came in about 15 minutes later and she had tears running down her cheek. And I said, what's up? She said, I had to stop it. It got so introspective,
Yeah.
some of the questions that I asked, which frankly sometimes can be painful.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, and I thought when you're doing it right. And anyway, I thought it was very interesting, man. So 10 questions so I may learn more about myself than I ever have, and don't tell me why you're asking me, and do it one at a time. And I did it voice wise, like it would ask me the question and then I would just talk because I find that works better than so anyways, that was just an interesting thing. So hey man, I appreciate you, brother.
Likewise. Thanks for
Okay.
thanks for the chat.
Hey, for those of you that might be listening today, hey, I'd love to hear your take on this, or maybe hear a little bit about your story. The best way to get me directly, if I spend a fair amount of time on Facebook Messenger, and so, maybe in the show notes, we'll put a link to my Facebook. And even if we're not, and I'm using air quotes here, friends on Facebook, man, I'd love to hear what you think about all this, and maybe your story or your different look at this. I'd really be interested. So just on Facebook, send me a Facebook message. Just what you think about all this. So I really appreciate having the honor of coming to your world a couple times a week, and I don't take that lightly. I really really appreciate it. So, all right, that's it. So, thanks a lot. Looking forward to hearing back from you, and we'll talk to you soon.